We're back to talk about some more movie tie-in games, and since the video on Return of the King was such a surprise success, I thought why not tackle the Two Towers next. As I said in that previous video, I love The Lord of the Rings. I mean, once I was introduced to the movies and then found out there was games too, I had to play them all. From the Third Age, Battle of Middle-earth, The Hobbit, Conquest, Tactics, Return of the King, Fellowship of the Ring, and of course, The Two Towers, along with many more. I love the world and lore of Middle-earth. I have ever since I first laid eyes on the films, and having all these games, whether they were good or not, to further live in that world of Middle-earth was amazing. The Two Towers though might be one of my most replayed games of all time. Not the game I've sunk the most hours into because this game is real short, this playthrough clocking in at a whopping 2.5 hours not including replaying levels. But I easily replayed this game 20 to 30 times back on the PS2. I was obsessed with this game, with really my only gripe as a kid being, unlike Return of the King, I couldn't play these missions with my brother as well, and we had to swap the controller mission to mission instead. Regardless, I adored this game, and having the option to play through 2 of the 3 movies was awesome back in the day. It let you experience the movies in game form, and once again, that's all I could have asked for as a kid, which is why I played it on repeat back in the day. I haven't played it since about 2004 or 2005 though, so 17 years is a bit of a stretch to blindly rely on nostalgia, which did burn us a little bit on Return of the King, which is why we're here today. I have one simple question. Is the Two Towers as good as I remember? Just quickly, before we get started though, if you want to see more videos on the Lord of the Rings games, make sure to leave the video a like and comment below to let me know which ones you'd like to see. Alright. Let's get started. So first of all, I want to address the point of difference between going into Return of the King and the Two Towers. Mainly being, for me, I had a little bit more of an idea what I was getting into with the Two Towers. Again, it had been so long since I'd played Return of the King and my nostalgia had gotten out of hand, so whilst I still really enjoyed the game, it got brought back to reality for me. That's why with the Two Towers, I have more insight into the sort of experience this game is to play today, and I think that's resulted in my nostalgia being preserved because I had so much fun playing this game. Yes, a lot of the flaws I spoke about in Return of the King are present here in the Two Towers as well, and I will go over them, but as a whole, I had a great time revisiting this game, and I think that comes down to the developers once again. Stormfront Studios were responsible for the Two Towers, who primarily beforehand were developing a whole lot of racing and sports games, though after the Two Towers went on to make the Spiderwick Chronicles as well, which I have way too much nostalgia for. Anyway, Stormfront Studios clearly cared about the project and the IP. You can hear the excitement in their voices in the making of, how infectious having all the actors involved, how excited some of the actors are when they play the game, the use of props from the films, and just how much it meant to them to work on this game. That care and excitement is something you feel when you play the game, and like Return of the King, the Two Towers' best quality is how well it immerses you in these iconic levels. Since the Two Towers is only one side of this coin, the Fellowship of the Ring you get the chance to experience moments like fighting as Isildur in the Second Age in Mordor, fighting off the Nazgul on Weathertop, fending off the Watcher in the water, slaying the horde of orcs and cave troll in Balin's tomb in the mines of Moria, and running through Amon Hen and fighting the Uruk-hai and Lurtz. The Fellowship side of this game is a lot more true to the film. The Two Towers levels and moments are still awesome, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't diversify as much as in the early levels. We make our way through Fangorn Forest, the outskirts of Rohan, and then defend Helm's Deep, with 6 missions being in those latter 2 locales. That's 6 levels out of the main 12 in 2 locations, and look, I understand that sort of is the Two Towers film when you focus solely on Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas. I'm not saying I don't enjoy being able to experience in more detail the Battle of Helm's Deep or helping the people of Rohan escape their towns, but when you compare that to jumping between locales like Mordor, Moria, Amon Hen, and Fangorn, it does make the first half of the game feel more exciting than the second half, that's all I'm saying. Either way, the point I was trying to make before getting sidetracked was playing through these levels and encounters that are so iconic in the films is still the best part of these games. I love the Fellowship of the the Ring, and this game condenses all its most badass moments into a game outside of escaping Moria and fighting the Balrog, which could have been a cool thing to do in the game. The Two Towers is where I think they missed the boat in focusing solely on Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, only because we could have had levels like destroying Isengard or escaping Osgiliath. I know 2 levels isn't a big deal, but it could have added a bit more visual variety to that second half, though I'm sure this game had bugger all development time, so gameplay wise I understand being solely focused on the most action-packed characters in the films. The levels we do have and the locales we explore in the Two Towers I do enjoy. Fangorn has such an unsettling atmosphere, the outer towns of Rohan feel true to what we briefly saw from the films, capped off by fighting the wolves of Isengard, and Helm's Deep is Helm's Deep. It's iconic, it's dark, it's dangerous, like it should be. Yes, most of these levels are go from point A to B without dying, but the levels themselves and what they mean to explore and be a part of as a fan are still great to this day. Gameplay wise, a lot of what I said in my Return of the King video applies here as well. We have hack and slash combat. The quicker you defeat enemies, the more experience and score you'll get. You use that experience to buy new combinations and upgrades, and the levels are nice 5 to 10 minute romps that entice you to replay them through the other characters. Probably the main difference between games is the hacking and slashing. It doesn't feel as crisp here in Two Towers, or the perspective is a little off. I can't really pinpoint what it is, but it just feels like I was whiffing more swings and wasn't able to deal the finishing blows as reliably, because if you're slightly off, it doesn't count. The combat, at least for me, didn't start off on the strongest of feet, with, from what I could tell, no real combinations unlocked until you buy some, which means you'll have a level or so with the basic attacks, which is a little lame. Also, stun locks are a beast in this game. If you get knocked down and the AI wants to keep attacking, there is no bliss period, you're getting attacked over and over, and you just sort of need to hope they get bored before you die, which is annoying, but again, most of the time the enemy will eventually let you up, unless their name is Lurtz, who will just pummel you into the ground, no worries. I think that's a good segue into, the Two Towers can be pretty damn tough. Not because the actual encounters are too difficult, though they definitely can be in some instances, but the punishment for death or failure is so great. Most levels don't have checkpoints. You need to be one and done, and that stress makes you really need to learn these combinations because most of them take out enemies in one combo rather than multiple hits. The difficulty or stress of failure makes learning these combos a lot of fun, and actually entices the player to head back to levels to level up and get some more tools in the old tool belt, which is great. The issue with this difficulty and the lack of checkpoints is it ruins Helm's Deep, at least it does for me, and it also means you can't freely swap between Aragorn, Gimli and Legolas unless you're leveling them up along the way too, which would mean playing the same levels over to keep everyone even. I don't mind the latter too much, as I made my way through with Aragorn and then played the missions I wanted to play again with Legolas and Gimli, but Helm's Deep is just not fun in my opinion. At least the second mission isn't fun. I can deal with the wall and gate defense because they fit what I expect from levels on Helm's Deep, and they're a lot harder to see the behind the scenes workings of the game, unlike the second mission. That second mission as you defend a door hiding the women and children is just simply boring. It's tedious, you can see the enemies spawning in, it starts to drag on after a while, and if you aren't careful with the door's health and the catapult arrives, you're probably restarting the level. I understand that Helm's Deep should feel like a challenge, and this constant bombardment of enemies, which these levels do nail, especially in the first and last level, but I don't think that second mission succeeds in being enjoyable to play, and definitely made me avoid replaying this level as Gimli and Legolas. Again though, Helm's Deep as a level I don't mind. I mean, the levels are definitely stressful, and as they should be the toughest levels in the game, they can just be a tad repetitive. Outside of Helm's Deep though, I did really enjoy playing through these levels and seeing how they would incorporate the gameplay into these iconic scenes. We get to fight the Nazgul, the Watcher and the Cave Troll, we get to face off against Lurtz, we get to battle the Wolves of Isengard, we get to run through and slay the Uruk-hai in Amon Hen, defend the people of Rohan from what I'll admit is some pretty brutal scenes in the burning villages. The levels are enticing to be in. There are even secrets and extra XP to find in the levels that, whilst secrets might be a bit generous, is still something else to look for. I found the environments and enemies encouraged using different combinations combinations and mixing in close and range combat a lot more, learning enemy attack speeds like the trolls who don't leave much room for error, trying to time Urukai bombers with large groups of enemies, that sort of thing. There is a lot more to think about here in the Two Towers gameplay loop, and again, it's not perfect, the balance is a little off. If you encounter shield enemies, you don't have any combos beginning with the strong attack until a little too late in my opinion, meaning you need to destroy their shields and then attack, stun locks, all that sort of stuff. But for the most part, it's still a lot of fun to play. So much so I wanted to replay these levels, grind up and see what the other characters had on offer. See how these levels play with the slight variations between characters, and of course, see more of these iconic levels and watch everyone's interviews. I still get a kick out of all that stuff as a fan of this series, and the Two Towers, much like Return of the King, if nothing else, is a game that lets me participate in the films. Overall, I had a great time revisiting the Two Towers. Yes, some mechanics are a little dated. I'm not big on missions solely focused on defending a given object for what feels like an eternity at times, even if it is true to the film, or for a game called The Two Towers, some of the best missions are from the Fellowship. But the levels feel true to the films, the combat and progression is compelling, the game's a real challenge, there is plenty of replay value, even being able to unlock Isildur and each character's 20-wave arena, which whilst not my cup of tea, is a cool reward. As a fan of the films, it's just a great game to experience the movies in game form, especially when you get two films in one game. It's not the most in-depth, it hasn't avoided Father Time, but it's no less fun to play today, and it just made me wish we could get something like this today. Let me experience these iconic battles with the graphics of today, improved hack and slash combat and more involved level design, and you've got a winner. Hell, a HD remaster of the two games would be fire, just something. I missed this type of experience, and I'm glad back in the day the devs actually cared for the product they were making and not just cashing in. The Two Towers is still a great time. Go play it. Thank you all so much for watching this video on the Two Towers. I really did enjoy revisiting this game, and I hope you enjoyed visiting the game with me. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave it a like because it helps let me know that you enjoyed yourself. Comment below your thoughts on the Two Towers and let me know if you want to see more videos like this. Maybe we try and revisit the Fellowship of the Ring next, or the Third Age, or Battle for Middle-earth. So many options, we'll see where we end up. Shout out to the channel members, Infamous Sir Hellfire, featuring Gagiano, Christian Volgag and Cloud Connection for the extra level of support. I truly do appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, go give my socials a follow if you fancy, @MayorHairBear, and I'll catch you all in the next video.